All right, I just sent out an announcement for the people that probably dropped off after I was 10 or 12 minutes late. Can I just get a quick thumbs up that you guys can hear me all right? Perfect, thank you, excellent. So welcome to COIS ADMN 1620. I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to come to the office hours. I will be posting a recording of this and any other office hours. We'll do this weekly. I'm not 100% set on 1 o'clock on a Saturday, but let's assume that that's when it's going to be for now. I'll announce it if it changes, and it will be the book time will be in the Zoom link anyways. I think it's important to go over this once a week. Generally, because we're split into 6 modules over the 14 or 15 weeks that we're together. Every other one isn't so important. Next week's will be a bit important because it'll be the first time through the second half of a module, but we will meet anyways. And I'm happy to answer any questions, no matter how many times I've answered them in the past in office hours. The difference for me with 150 plus students is I can't respond to email asking me this questions that I've covered already. So if sometimes the class sizes are up to 300 or whatever, I do expect people to keep current with the office hours, even if they can't attend them in person, just so that anything that I'm announcing, any changes or any updates or any clarifications, please do check there and make sure that you're current with the expectations and anything that's going on in the classroom. My experience, as I've said, I think in the announcement, is that the people that do come to the office hours tend to do a little better. They understand the expectations. It's probably a weeding out process. There's people that will not attend any office hours, will not watch any office hours, will not put a lot of effort into the course. And of course, they don't do particularly well. Typically, there'll be probably 5 to 10 people that will never do anything in the course. And they'll end up with no mark at all. That's just historically speaking. So what I want to do today primarily is go through the syllabus. I think it's important to always take a look at the syllabus in any course that you're in. I'd recommend you doing that for all courses. I'm expecting that many of you, even most of you, this is your very first term at Trent. So I'm just trying to give you some good advice as to things to do to make your journey easier and more successful as you go through. So looking at the syllabus when you start a course is one of those things. It is the contract between the professor / the school and yourself. So I can't deviate from the syllabus without consent of the students, meaning that I couldn't suddenly decide that the final was going to be worth 40% or 10% when I've announced it, say, as being 25%. That's because that's the contract. It's been agreed to by my supervisors and his supervisor as well. And it's been approved as a syllabus. So to make a change would require the consent of every single student in the course. I'm not proposing to change anything. I'm just trying to explain that it's a contract between you and I so that you know what to expect. So I'm going to share my screen here. Bear with me. And with a little luck, you should be able to see the syllabus sitting there. I'm just arranging my screen so that I can see the chat window still. All right. So just starting from the top, obviously we have our course name. I am a part-time course instructor, so I do not have an office at Trent. I do not attend in person at Trent, essentially ever. Once or twice a semester, I may be on campus, but it's rare. If you need to meet with me, what we'll have to do is do it this way by Zoom. So we can do that. I generally try to communicate by email as much as possible. I'd encourage you to include screenshots to explain things or show things to me so that I understand what it is. So it saves us going back and forth a few times. I always respond to email within 24 hours. The caveat to that is if it's going to take me longer than that to dig up the answer to the question that you've asked, I'll let you know. I'll say, I've got your email. Give me a day or two to find out, because maybe I have to ask someone else and wait for them to respond or whatever. The caveat or the exception to that is if you send me an email from a non-Trent address, it's almost undoubtedly going to end up in my junk. And I don't check junk on a daily basis. So you can expect that it may be quite a while before I actually see that email. I will respond to that email by saying I need you to send it from your Trent email address. So always communicate with me from your Trent email address to make sure that I get it. And secondly, it would be a great favor to me and every other professor that you have that you put the subject in the subject line. So the COIS ADMN 1620 or Intro to Info Systems. Let us know. Most of us have multiple courses. So I'm teaching this course, but I'm also helping out as a TA with COIS 1010. So I need to know what course you're talking about when you ask a question. So please do that. Just enabling the transcription service. So we've got a live transcription service, and I'll try and remember to start with that each time. But I will post this video both with the flat recording, and then I'll put it on YouTube and let them do the closed captioning for us. So there will be a way to watch this with closed captioning as well. So yeah, email is the primary form of communication with me. If we need to escalate at some point to a Zoom session, that's fine. Please keep in mind that there are 150 students in this course. I certainly do not have time. There's no expectation that I meet with everyone individually. So that's why I prefer to meet after the office hours, like after this, talk to people privately at that time while I'm already on, or mostly deal with things by email. Okay. We have our academic admin assistant, who is Alyssa O'Neill. That's the departmental address. If you have questions, I would caution you or suggest to you that you try and resolve any issue you have with me first, because if you go to the department, if you escalate to the head or the chair of COIS, if you go to the dean, if you go to the president of the university, those are all levels of escalation you can follow. They just push it all back down to me. So until I've had a chance to deal with any issue and you are unsatisfied with the way that I've dealt with that, the proper way to escalate is one step at a time. You will certainly not, you can all find out what the email address is for the president of the university, and you can all send them email and complain about how unfair I'm being to you, but that will just get pushed back to me. So, and then I'll have to deal with it, and then you'll be able to incrementally escalate up the ladder. Hopefully that doesn't happen. Every so often someone gets upset with a response that I make. They don't think they're being treated fairly, and they escalate, and that's fine. That's your right, and I'm not trying to stop you from doing it. I'm just saying that the proper way to do it is to start with me, give me a chance to resolve it. Okay. So we've got a few learning outcomes over here, and I'm not going to go through them individually. I'll give you a chance to read those on your own. The textbook is available through the library. Through the bookstore, excuse me. You can probably get it independently. I think there's an option to buy it directly from Wiley Plus by clicking on the Wiley Plus resources link in Blackboard. And then I think you can go that way and get it, but it is definitely available from the bookstore. You do need the whole package. So just the text isn't enough. Everything we do is going to be done in Wiley Plus, meaning all of your quizzes, all of your practices, all of your discussions, and your final exam are all going to be done in Wiley Plus through Blackboard. You'll access everything through Blackboard, but you'll end up at the Wiley Plus site. So you need to have that access code. You need to buy the access code so that you can get into Wiley Plus to the resources in addition to having the textbook. I always recommend having the electronic version of the textbook as opposed to the physical version. And I say that because your practices, your quizzes, and your discussions are all open book. And it's just a whole lot easier to search through an electronic text than it is to search through a paper text. Everyone has their own preference. If you learn better from a paper book and that's just the way you want to do it, go ahead. It's just not as efficient, probably. So the text is Introduction to Information Systems, Canadian edition, 5th edition by Rayner, Prince, and a few other authors. It is essential that you have the textbook. It's, like I said, it's essential that you have the Wiley Plus resources because you won't be able to do any testing at all without them. You need the textbook for sure. In the past, when I haven't used Wiley Plus or some other form of website to do the testing in, when I used to host it in Blackboard itself, the people that did most poorly were the ones that didn't have a textbook. The questions come straight from the text, okay? So there's not going to be anything that's asked that is outside the text. My lectures are based on the textbook, but they are not comprehensive, meaning if you have to skip one or the other, reading the chapter versus listening to my lecture, the one you want to skip is listening to my lecture, okay? I am trying to make the reading and the material more understandable by giving you some alternate ways to look at things, maybe add some experiences into that, give you a different vector to learn from, learning visually as opposed to reading, or learning by listening to me. But the lectures don't pretend to be complete. I'm not covering every single thing in the chapter. So you're going to need to go through the chapter and read it from front to back. The nice thing about the practices that are assigned is that you will do those practices, or you can do those practices until you get perfect. They will, if you have an area that you're not mastering and you're demonstrating that you're not mastering by answering the questions, it will go back and give you different questions on that until you've shown mastery of the subject. So you can get 100% on every practice if you just go at it for long enough, okay? I would suggest the efficient way is to read the chapter, listen to my lecture, and then do the practice. And then that'll quickly show you what you may be missing or what you're not understanding fully. And then you can refer to the text at that point, okay? As far as assessments go, we've got mandatory submissions. Let me talk about those for a bit. We've got a couple things that you need to do. The first thing is to complete the academic integrity module for this year. Last year's version will not cut it. You have to do it again this year. So the good thing is they'll be asked from lots of other courses will ask you to have completed that. You only have to do it once a year. So when you do it in September, you've got it until the end of August. So you're good for the whole year, but you'll need to do that. Again, most of you haven't done it because you're brand new here. Do it. It's not that hard. Doesn't take that long. What I've asked you to do is submit to me a screenshot proving that you've done it. I've given you an example of the screenshot that I'm looking for, something similar. As long as it has your name and it shows the results that you've got 15 out of 15 for your academic integrity, we're good. I have to mark that manually. There's no artificial intelligence or way that I'm aware of anyways to mark that. So please bear with me. The reason I have that due earlier is so that I can get those marked and out of the way so you have a whole week to do the quizzes and the practices and things like that. The quizzes will not be available to you if you haven't done the 2 mandatory submissions. So I've talked about one, the academic integrity module. The second one is the course requirements quiz. So I've got a 20 question, multiple choice and multiple answer quiz. And all it does is demonstrate to me that you've read through the syllabus and done maybe a little bit of extra research about APA formatting so that we get a base understanding between you and I individually, that you understand what my requirements are. The reason I do it is I would often get partway through a course with students and they would have a complete misunderstanding of what it was that I wanted. This way, if you've successfully gone through the quiz and got 20 out of 20, then we should be on the same page. We should be at least starting on the same page. So there are 10 times that you can do that quiz at this point. So the reason I limit the number of times is because people used to just do it randomly, and I had people submitting it 40 and 50 times. I'm looking for you to actually do some thinking. If you don't get something right, do some research, figure out what's right, okay? Look in the syllabus, look in the provided links under course content general, and you should find the answers to every question that I ask you. There's nothing hidden or particularly hard about it. The most challenging part of it for most students is APA formatting. If you don't have a good understanding of APA formatting, because you're going to need it in this course, you need to use the links or anywhere else on the internet, the links that I provided to you and the video that I provided to you from the academic skills group that'll show you what's needed for APA formatting, okay? It's not particularly hard, but it is a standard that you're going to use presumably in a bunch of different courses, certainly in any course that I teach and other ones that I'm aware of, so that when you're writing paper, you're putting citations in, and then you're putting a list of references in, and it's in a format that is palatable and is consistent for us. So those are the two things for those mandatory submissions. So there's no marks for those, but you won't be able to see the quizzes moving forward until you've got both those in successfully. Please don't leave that to the last minute because, like I said, I have to manually mark the academic integrity submissions. I have to review those. And if you leave it until Wednesday night at 10 o'clock and you have until midnight to submit your quiz, there's a good chance that I'm not going to get around to marking it. I'm not on 24/7 or anything like that. So please try and do it. Try and make the deadline, first of all, which is next Wednesday with these things, and then you'll have a whole week to choose whenever you want to rate those quizzes, okay? Module practices, I've talked about a little bit already. They're worth 1% per chapter. When I say chapter, I mean chapter or technical guide. So there are 13 chapters and 4 technical guides. I'll go over to the course content links, and it will show you exactly which chapters and technical guides are expected for any given week. Module, excuse me. So the first module is a little lighter in that there's just an intro and then 2 chapters, chapter 1 and chapter 2. But by the time we get into the second module, you're going to be looking at chapters 3 and 4 and technical guide 1. So there's a fair bit of reading with this course. There's probably per module, so per 2-week period, there's probably 125 pages of reading, something like that. So start early and get into that quickly so that you don't leave it to the last minute to try and rush through it. There's lots of time to do it, even with all your other courses and everything. But if you leave it to the last minute, you may be disappointed with the results that you get in your quizzes and such, okay? So they're due at 11:59 on Wednesdays. Blackboard considers 11:59 to be 11:59:00. So that's a minute before midnight. If they are late, you will not be able to submit them. They'll be auto-submitted the way they are if you're partway through them at 11:59:00. If you're late, there's no recourse, okay? I do not reopen them. I don't have the option to reopen them just for some people. So if they're late, they're submitted as far as you get at that point, and there's no recourse. That's for practices and quizzes, okay? They're found in the assessment section. We'll take a quick look at the Blackboard interface from my perspective, which is a little more than the student perspective, but it'll show you where things are. The module quizzes are very much the same, except they're worth 2% per chapter or technical guide. So again, there's 13 chapters and 4 technical guides. So you'll do a total of 17 module quizzes over the semester. And they're also due on Wednesdays at 11:59 p.m. And I'll say it one last time, if you haven't got your 2 mandatory requirements in, your academic integrity and the course requirements in and marked as perfect, you will not be able to see the quizzes. They just won't appear for you. Okay. Then the last sort of regular thing are discussions. There will be 4 discussions. They won't start until module 2, and then module 2, 3, 4, and 5 is when the discussions will be there. They will be short answer questions, short essay answer questions. I'm looking for about 400 or 500 words. You'll have 2 of them to do, two different questions, each module for those 4 modules where they're available. I'm only looking for 400 or 500 words each. So don't give me 100 words and don't give me, 1,200 words, somewhere around 400 or 500 words. And I give those, I'm not going to penalize someone that's 375 words or 525 words. I'm just trying to give you the idea of the amount of content that I'm looking for, just so that you don't spend, too long or too short on them. They're also due at 11:59 on Wednesday. So this course, everything is going to be due on Wednesday nights. Okay, so it's going to be in the first module. We've got some stuff due Wednesday nights. Those 2 mandatory things are due Wednesday nights, next week. But other than that, everything's going to be due on Wednesday nights every other week. Okay, at the end, the second week of the module. They also get closed at 11:59 and they're not reopened. So whatever you've submitted at that point is what will be marked, and you'll receive those marks. We obviously have to manually mark those. The quizzes and the practices are auto-marked for us because they're multiple choice style questions, but the discussions have to be marked. We will try our very best, and it's Jordan Hurley and myself. I believe I'm working with Jordan again. He's excellent. You will enjoy Jordan if you haven't already met him in another course. If he hasn't introduced himself, he's a great workshop leader. He'll definitely help you out and answer questions. You can reach out to him by email as well. We will try and get the mark within a week of submission, probably a little faster than that, so that you get feedback before you get into the next week, into the next module. Okay, so you'll have at least a week after getting the feedback from the discussion to be able to make any changes that you need to make your marks better. Okay. Sorry, I'm losing my table just went down here a bit. So yeah, those are the main things. So we've got 17% for our practices, 34% for our quizzes, and 24% for discussions. So that leaves us with 25%, which is the final exam, which will be during the exam period, and it will cover the entire course. It will be a closed book proctored exam. It will be offered in person or online. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get further through. Just a caution at the beginning of the course, your personal travel, your vacation, your whatever your work schedule is, you are expected to make yourself available for the exam. I will not be making exceptions because you've got to travel somewhere with your family or back home or anything like that. You are expected to be available. Now, the good thing is that you will have an option to write it online with an online proctoring service. So you can do it from anywhere. But if you book a plane and the school decides that it's the same day that you're mid-flight, you've got a problem. Okay, so do not make plans to travel during exam week or exam period, which is probably closer to 2 weeks, in case you get stuck being unable to write an exam. Okay. The final exam will be a 3-hour exam. It won't necessarily take that long to do. it will, like I said, cover the entire course. We will have practices available. We will talk about that. I'll prepare you well for that. And it's worth 25%, which isn't devastating. Some of my courses, I've had them worth as much as 50%. So you can do, that has a bigger impact, obviously, than a 25% final. You will have to prepare well for it, though. Grading, we've covered. There is something called a course withdrawal date. I call it the drop date. You'll hear me refer to it that way. The course withdrawal date is Tuesday, November the 8th this year. What that means is you can drop the course with no academic penalty anytime before that date. And I will remind you as we get closer, it's a big deal, because if you find at that point, you'll have 36% of your marks will be available to you. If this is just not working out for you for whatever reason, you are better to drop the course than to take a failing mark on your transcript. There will be no record of it on your transcript if you drop it before Tuesday, November 8th. So those are decisions that should be made in conjunction with an academic advisor. If you think you need some advice, there are academic advisors that are available that you can go to, and you can discuss your options. The average in this course is quite high. The majority of people will end up in the, let's say, 70 and above mark, with lots of people in the 80 and above, and quite a few people in the 90 and above. There will be a number of people that will lower the average for whatever reason. They'll have missed a bunch of stuff, and the average usually comes out to 70 to 75 for the course overall, but that includes people that got 12% in there that stopped applying themselves at some point early on. Okay, so that's just based. I've taught this course a lot of times. I think this is my 10th or 11th time teaching this course, maybe more. So I've seen just about every permutation, and I can confidently say that the average in this course will be between 70 and 75 at the end of things. So schedule, I'm not going to go through the whole schedule, but we can take a look at this module, which is started on Thursday and goes to a week from Wednesday to the 21st. Here's and I'm just referring to my pointer on the shared screen here. Here's our textbook, of course. Here's the 3 chapters or sections that you need to go over. The Welcome to Wiley there's no test on it, but it might be worth your while if you've not worked with Wiley before in the past. And then chapter 1 and 2, we've got our 2 mandatory things that have a due date of the 14th. I don't have a problem with you handing those in late at all. It doesn't matter to me at all. There's no mark deduction or anything like that. But keep in mind that if you do so, you may not be able to write those quizzes because I may not get around to marking them in time, okay? Because I've got to manually mark the academic integrity module. Now, there's a bunch of people that have already handed those in. I haven't marked anything today, but as of yesterday at, let's say, 7 or 8 o'clock, I'd marked everything that I needed to. I will mark on a daily basis so that you have as much time to attack those quizzes as possible, okay? So this Wednesday coming, we've got those 2 mandatory things in, and then these 2 guys are for the regular last Wednesday of the module. So that's the September 21st Wednesday. So I say practices, plural, 1. So practices 1 is going to be practice chapter 1, practice chapter 2. Okay, quizzes is going to be quiz chapter 1 and quiz chapter 2. So there's going to be 2 in this case, and usually 3 practices that you have to go through. I usually do 1 chapter at a time, or I recommend doing 1 chapter at a time. I would read chapter 1, I would listen to the chapter 1 lecture, and then I would do the practice for chapter 1, and then I'd do the quiz for chapter 1, and then I would do the next for chapter 2. When we get to the next module, module 2, you see this is the way. Module 2 is the way almost every other module. Module 2, 3, 4, and 5 are essentially exactly the same in that they have 2 chapters, in this case 3 and 4, and 1 tech guide. So practices 2 will have 3 practices. Quizzes 2 will have 3 quizzes, and there'll be a discussion as well. So again, if you leave that all to the last minute, you're not going to get through it all. You're not going to be able to get that reading done. You're not going to be able to write 2, 400 or 500 word mini essays for the discussion, plus do all the quizzes and practices that are required. Okay. So I'll just scroll through this. This is all available in the syllabus. And then we have departmental policies. The one thing that I've already mentioned is please use your Trent email for correspondence so that it doesn't go to my junk mail, so that I will get it and I will respond. If you find that I haven't responded to you at all within 24 hours, please don't be afraid to send me a reminder. I've not had that ever in all the years I've been teaching since 2014. But if for some reason I've missed your email, it's been put into a thread or whatever that I didn't see it, then please do remind me, and I will rectify my mistake and respond to you. The quizzes are not timed. I'm just seeing a quick question here from Steve. Quizzes are not timed. I think they are. They vary a little bit. They're 20 to 30 questions per quiz per chapter. Okay. So again, you've got 2 quizzes in the first one. Excellent. So they don't take all that long. Honestly, most people, if they've done the reading and such, it's around 20 minutes. They're multiple choice and multiple answer. I might as well address this right up front too. You will not get your marks until the marks will be available to everyone at the same time. Your practice, you'll know that you got perfect, but your quizzes, you'll note that it'll come up as a 0 in your submission in Blackboard for your grades. At Thursday morning at 12:10, say in the morning, you're going to get your mark. It'll auto-populate those marks. The idea being that there shouldn't be an advantage. You should know what the answers are before anyone else gets a chance to write it. So by Thursday morning when you wake up, or maybe you're still up at the early hours of Thursday, you'll see your marks for the quiz. I don't release answers. Unfortunately, in the environment that we're in, I'm perfectly aware that almost all questions and answers for every course ever are on the internet somewhere. I'm not going to make that any easier. The quizzes are my way of gauging how well you're learning the material, and they're not designed as a learning experience for you guys. So what I'm not trying to do, or what I'm trying not to do, is have you guys memorize a whole bunch of multiple choice questions and answers. That's not learning. That's some sort of remedial memory exercise. What I'm hoping to do is get you guys to understand some concepts for the course, the key concepts and the key requirements for the course, so that you understand and that you can speak intelligently about them, not answer specific questions based on rote and by memory. Okay, so I don't release those answers. I will give extensive feedback. Jordan and I will give you extensive feedback on the discussions. We'll tell you what we liked and didn't like, and you'll get really good feedback that way. But you won't get feedback on the quizzes. You'll get feedback on the practices, but you won't get feedback on the quizzes. Okay. Academic integrity. So this is a sore spot for me and why I require the academic integrity module. I tend to have large classes. This is 150, as I've said before. Some of my classes reach into the 300 to 350, especially in the winter time. I have, with a class of 300, I always do 10 to 15 academic integrity violation investigations, meaning people cheat and get caught cheating. I hate them. They waste my time. They penalize the students heavily, meaning it's been put on your transcript. You can be ejected from the university in extreme cases. Please take the academic integrity policy seriously. It's something you got to check off and understand, but we take it very seriously. Taking credit for someone else's work since everything in university is all about academic property and intellectual property. If you're going to use someone else's words or someone else's thought, you need to properly reference that, okay? That's why I require APA citations and references in the essays. I want you to research for them. I want you to use other people's opinions and facts, but I want you to give proper credit for it. If you choose not to, or if you hand me in an essay that is copied and pasted from someone else's essay that's had the same question, whether at this university or another one, that will be an academic integrity violation, and it will be an investigation. We'll have to sit down, we'll have to have a conversation about it, and it'll be escalated up to the dean ultimately if it's deemed to be a serious matter. I don't give any slack to that at all. So please be careful. I know how people write essays. I know that people will copy and paste large sections into an essay and then try and rephrase it as they go. My suggestion is to keep a working copy and a clean copy and never copy and paste into your final copy. If you're doing your research and you find a passage that's really relevant, sure, copy and paste that. That's not a problem. Don't put it into your final copy, into your working copy. Put it into a document where you can then paraphrase it and put it in your own words. It's important to understand that paraphrasing does not mean substituting synonyms. I get a lot of that, and that becomes a big problem too. So if the sentence is, say, 15 words long, and you substitute 2 words and keep the entire sentence structure, and you accept that you change 2 words to synonyms, that is plagiarism. Okay, so just to set expectations there. Like I said, it takes me a ton of time. I'm not paid any extra. I'm paid by the course, not by the hour. It's a waste of time, but it's my integrity and my personal view that I don't let things like that slide. So again, I know I belabored the point a bit, but I am very serious about avoiding academic integrity violations. So please do watch the videos. If you have questions, ask me questions. I'm happy to steer you. Even if you say you had to repeat this course, say you took this course this term for whatever reason, you had to drop out before the drop date, and you'd already done a couple discussions at that point, you still can't copy and paste your own work into the next time repeating the course. That's still plagiarism. So just be aware, understand what's going on with academic integrity. We're very serious about it, but we are very clear about it as well. Okay. Absenteeism. So there are going to be situations. We don't have any defined class times. We have this live office hours that I prefer to people to attend in person, but I will provide the recording. So, there's no absolute requirement to attend class or anything like that. However, if you're going to be late with something and you have a legitimate excuse or an excuse that you believe is legitimate, you'll have to approach me and see if you can get an extension. The answer I'm going to give you almost every time is going to be no. So my advice to you is get started early each module on the work, so that even if you have a hiccup for a day or two, it's not the end of the world. If there's a medical issue, I'll just ask for some sort of a doctor's note or proof of that issue, and I will certainly consider giving an extension. I'm not completely heartless, but the dog ate my homework, and I've had the cat jumped on my keyboard and shut all my windows. That may or may not have happened. I don't know, but that did not receive an extension. Sorry, sir, I have all sorts of things that are due this week. I don't care. Those are not my problems. Your responsibility as a university student is to manage your time. Unfortunately, in this course, in some courses, there are late penalties that are applied that you can, take a 10% hit per day or something like that. In this course, there's no late submissions at all. So if you miss the deadline, it's a 0. Okay. But I will consider any sort of specific incident that you believe is legitimate, and I will certainly tell you whether I can give you an extension. You're always better off to give me a heads up before as opposed to ask for it afterwards. Okay. Sometimes that's not possible. Say you get in a car accident, you're hospitalized or something like that. I get it. You don't have a chance to email me. I totally understand that. There are accommodations available for those that qualify. And those accommodations can include extensions on assignments and things like that. The discussions don't meet the threshold of an assignment, so it doesn't really help that way. But on the final exam, some people will get additional time based on assignment, based on an accommodation for that exam. The methodology for that is to go to the Student Accessibility Services and make an appointment, talk to an advisor there, and they will walk you through the process. I've seen some of those requests come in, or some of those accommodations come in already. You should do that sooner rather than later. That will apply to all your courses. And, the sooner you get that done, the better off you are. Okay. If you qualify. I think that's all that I wanted to talk about. Do we get any attempts on module quizzes and practices? So module quizzes are just one attempt per. You can save it mid quiz. It's just due when it's due. There's no time limit on them. So you can start it, get it half done, save it, and continue it later. Practices, same thing. You can do the same thing, but practices you get to do over and over again, or continue working on. It'll keep giving you new questions and circling around subject matter that you don't get perfect until you get it perfect. So if you do your practices long enough, you're going to get 100% on them. Okay. I'm just going to close this for a second. I just want to go to Blackboard here. All right, this is my view. So it's a little different than yours, but not terribly. Course content. So you can see on mine that you're not going to be able to see module 2 until the Wednesday that it starts. Sorry, the Thursday that it starts. But module 1 is pretty specific, and this should be available to you now. So I have the learning objectives, and you can always check back after you've done your readings and listen to the lectures to make sure you can answer all those questions or understand all those things. The readings are where we're going to be having quizzes on. So again, 2 chapters. It's the same as the syllabus, right? And then here's my instructions as to what you need to do. So those are your very specific instructions of the things that you need to do. Again, just as a reminder, it's practices plural and quizzes plural. So it's not just one module 1 practice and one module 1 quizzes. There's one per chapter or tech guide. And then we've got our lectures. And then for each lecture, there's a closed caption version that's on YouTube. That's just a link from YouTube where YouTube has done the closed captioning for me. And then chapter 2 and the YouTube link for chapter 2. So if you want closed captioning, you use the YouTube. If you don't care, you just use the other one. I don't do lectures on tech guides. So tech guides are your own self-study. You'll have to read through that and understand that. Again, don't forget, I'm always available, and Jordan's always available for a question. If there's some concept that's just eluding you, please send us an email. You can get in the habit of sending us both an email, and the first person to respond will respond. That works as well. Sometimes Jordan's available faster than I am, or vice versa. But make sure you put that subject matter. I know Jordan's got at least 2 or 3 different courses that he works on. I've got a couple that I'm working on. So please put in the subject line what subject what your question pertains to. I absolutely know I'm repeating myself, but past experience has told me that if I don't say it 2 or 3 times, the uptake isn't as good as I want it to be. So, and I'll say a lot of this stuff every single office hours. So I'm a bit of a broken record. I'll be repeating myself. I don't know who's watched it or who's attended it or anything else. So I just say some of the basic stuff repeatedly. So that's that is essentially what I wanted to talk to you guys about to get you started for this week. So this coming week, our first week, our week one in module one isn't too darn hard. You just use it to get familiar. I would navigate through Blackboard if I were you, understand where all the links are, check your grades. I get a lot of students that I get email from them after the term is over, and they say, why didn't I pass quiz one? Well, I don't know. I mean, I can look it up, but it's too late at that point, right? So keep current with your grades. We do publish your grades. In any course that I run, the mark that you see is your cumulative mark out of 100. So if a quiz is worth 2%, the mark will be out of 2. If a discussion is worth 6%, the mark will be out of 6. It makes the math very easy. You know exactly how many percent you need to pass to get 80 to whatever. On that note, I get a number of questions at the end of each term. Sir, I got a 68, but I really need a 70, or I got an 88 and I'm trying to keep a 90 average. Can you change my mark? No, I cannot. So I'm happy to review anything that after you've looked at it and read the feedback. If you think it's unfair for some reason, I'm happy to relook at it. If it's me that's marked it, I'll get Jordan to look at it. If it's Jordan that had marked it, I will look at it. I'm happy to do that. That's fine. We can always make mistakes. And if you genuinely think that you got a 4 out of 6 and it was a 5.5 out of 6 assignment that you should have got, and the comments don't match up with what you did, or they don't make sense or whatever, reach out to me, but don't wait till the end of the term to do it, right? Once I submit marks, I've submitted marks. So just keep it ongoing, please. Okay. Just looking. Does anyone have any questions? Is there anything I can address? You can ask questions
Yes.
or through chat. Hi there.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good too. Actually, I just want to ask, like, for the value plus resources, I have to get the access code. Is it available from the bookstore, or like I have to like what?
So I believe everything is available through the Trent bookstore. I've registered the book there. If you have problems with that going through the bookstore, let me know. I also know that, sorry, I'm going to share my screen again, pull something up for you.
And can you please explain the final exam part again? Please.
Sure. Give me 1 second. So in here, there's the Wiley Plus course resources. It will allow you to buy the course materials through that as well. So if you go in there, you'll have to create a Wiley Plus account if you don't already have one. And then you can, it will prompt you, it'll tell you what the course is, because it's going through Blackboard. So it'll tell you what you need to buy. Okay. And then you want me to go over something else again? Can you tell me what that is?
Yeah, the final exam part.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Hello, am I audible now?
The final exam?
Yeah.
Okay, yep. So the final exam is going to be 3 hours. It's going to be, you're going to either be able to write it online with a proctor. So we use a service called Examity, where there's you sign in and there's someone that watches you write for the whole time. You have your webcam on and your microphone on the whole time. Or you can write it in Peterborough or in Durham. So I'll be the proctor in Durham, or usually I am. So if you choose to write it in Durham, if that's physically close to drive in and you want to do it in person, that's a good way to go. Otherwise, it'll be probably in the gym, because this is a big class, in Peterborough. So you have the 3 options. You'll partway through the term, you'll be asked to choose where you want to write. Okay, and if you don't choose anything, the default is in person in Peterborough. Okay.
Okay, and there will be MCQs, or question and short question and long question answers,
Sure, I'll go over that as we get close to it. But traditionally, what I've done is about half of it, half to 2/3 of the marks will be multiple choice or multiple answer, and maybe true false, and half or a third will be short answers.
Okay. The short answer will be 400 to 500 words.
So yeah, the short answer will be you won't be expected to provide citations because it'll be a closed book exam, but you'll just write a short essay. Usually they're worth about 10 marks, and I ask for 5 points, 5 valid points. Sometimes I'll say list 6 of this or describe 3 of this, in which case you do as the question asks. I'm perfectly happy, and again, I'll go over this as we get closer. I'm perfectly happy with point form. I don't care. You don't need to write beautiful, well punctuated paragraphs or anything like that. Point form is fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Is there anyone else that has any questions? If you don't have questions, you're welcome to get on with your Saturday afternoon. Again, my apologies for being late. That will not likely happen again. I think that's the first time I've been late ever. So yeah, I do apologize for wasting a bit of time there. We're pretty much within our 1 hour time frame. We'll do this again next week, and I'll answer more questions, go over anything that you want me to go over, and I will post this particular video in the next couple hours, and it'll be available for you to watch if you want to do that. But have a great Saturday. Good luck in the course. I'm looking forward to working with you guys, and yeah, we'll talk again in a week.